It's a playoff season, most exciting time of the year. SSL is known, I think, as the most prestigious league. Is it?
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. It's kind of Sweden. If you look at the licensed players, then I think Sweden has double the licensed players than in Finland, and those are the top two kind of floorball countries. So I think also the league itself in Sweden, we can objectively say that it kind of is the most prestigious one.
Yeah, and strength-wise, I would say like SSL and F-Liiga have their own strengths, and we're gonna discuss about this more in future. But yeah, I think if you're looking for really creative offense, maybe the best offensive players, Sweden is the place. And if you are looking for more methodical and tactical and defensive-oriented game, on average, Finland is the place for that. But of course, the top teams are putting that all together.
Yes, and we can see that the kind of this what you just talk about the coach of Storvreta, which is a clear Finnish legend, and we will get more into him later. But you can see that the amount of goals that Storvreta has conceded is way less than, for example, even the second team, which is 77 goals conceded for Storvreta this season and 118 for Falun, and that's an impressive number and kind of like highlights that Storvreta is really like. I would say in some way focused on playing well defensively, and because they probably also know that they have enough skill to generate good things in the offense, and I think that's an interesting thing to see here. And yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Storvet has also lost some crucial players in the last couple of years, as many teams, of course, Falun also. But I think Storvet has had a bigger kind of effect on that. Offensive defenseman Nilsbert left them a couple of years ago with Sjogren, who have been like staples in Storvet.
Yes.
And now last season also Gustafsson, another defender. Like he was the best player in the world at a couple of years ago, if I'm not wrong. And they are still on top of the league and playing like insane defense. Also, the coaching has changed, as you mentioned. They have Finnish coach Mikko Kohonen, and maybe that's also big impact why they are so good defensively, because this Finnish mentality is a little bit more tactical maybe, and defense oriented sometimes. But yeah, Falun second place, Vaxio third. Pixbo is the team which I'm a little bit surprised about, that they are not top three, because of their great start in the start of the season, and their Champions Cup run. They won the Champions Cup this season, and
Yeah, we saw them in the final last season, so like they kind of have more expectations this season, and they clearly have some offensive threat players such as Weisbach, and this year Landwehr has really stepped up, and I think he's also clearly one of the leaders in the team. But also a foreign player like Heinz, a German player, clearly the kind of biggest threat in German national team, as we both know from our international experiences. But yeah, really a lot of players that can deliver in the offense, and yeah,
actually, when I think about it, like maybe it makes sense that they are not top three, because of course they were in Champions Cup, as I mentioned, and it takes more games and more stress on maybe focus on the Champions Cup sometimes when they have those games in between. So maybe they lost some important games in between that period when they were competing in Champions Cup. So because as we know, Champions Cup is a tournament where the best teams from Finland, Sweden, Czech, and Switzerland are playing, and that tournament is going on while this season is going on, like regular seasons. So
yeah, it's clearly more games than some of the other teams as well. So good point.
And what we want to mention more is also Kalmarsund. Shout out to Pontus Zarinch, the best goalie in the league. Or not yet, but in future for sure.
Best Latvian goalie in the league.
Yes, ciao Pontus, Svetens, no Latvijas. Nukvarns, I would point out also they have, is this second year, I think, yeah, in SSL. They came up 2 years ago, and in this second season they already are in playoffs. So I think first playoffs in their history.
Yes, and it's an impressive impressive run for them, being able to clinch the 8th place in the second season in SSL. I think it's a very competitive league, and to be able to do that, I think that really is impressive.
Varberg, historical club in Sweden, but they were out of the SSL like many years now. But they got up last year and they survived the first season. As I have heard from SSL, like it's super hard when you get up to the SSL to stay there, and they have done it. And that means what that means for SSL teams is that in second year they already have a chance to get more better players or more trust from other players who are not having contracts for next year, that they can go to their, for example, to Varberg and challenge for the playoffs. So let's see next year if they can do that.
Yes, for sure. And also to mention Torengruppen, I think I saw that 4 of their top 6 players are going to Växjö next season.
Really?
Which is yes, really interesting. But so I saw, and that could be really, really big hit for Torengruppen and a really big boost for Växjö. So yes,
interesting. And yeah, there's many exciting actually transfers happening not only in Sweden but in Switzerland and F-Liiga. So we're gonna touch on that in future.
Yeah, we have to make a separate episode for this for sure.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention Oik with their impressive run end of the season, because if you look at the last 4 games, they really, as you say, clutch it up for the end of the season and stayed in SSL with especially the last game in overtime. That was exciting to watch. I think we both talked about it already in their last game.
Yes, it's really impressive. If I know from my experience that kind of losing most of the games for the whole season, it's like mentally it's not easy, because then you kind of get used to it, and then it's like you get this mental barrier of like getting over it and like starting to win games, right? And there, I think after the game where they lost against Fallon, as you can see, 2-8, kind of telling yourself that, hey, like we can do this, we can like win 3 out of the next 4 games. I think that is amazing, and that's really an impressive feat. So I think we have to like give respect for that.
Yeah, the emotion you can see in the last game when they scored, and
Exactly.
Stefansson scores the last goal. It's like that's why we love the sport, you know. That's why it doesn't matter always, like, is it for the championship, is it for the relegation battle, or for 5th place in world championships? Like, those moments are like those emotional moments in sports. It's so beautiful, and it was fun to see a team like that. And I also want to mention especially Stefansson and Astrom in that team. Like, it's so cool that they stayed up in SSL, because they are really like showman players, as you can say. And,
Exactly. Really, like you could say more of offensive based, and some would say maybe defensive liabilities. But I think like that fits the kind of world of Swedish floorball, firstly, and I think those kinds of players are the players who bring up the kind of they like make the sport more exciting, you know. And these 2 guys, the skill set for them is just amazing. And we already discussed this before, but this like free shot they did. If you look at the game where they lost against Nukvarns, which was a really interesting game, I suggest everybody watch the highlights. But there was this one goal where it was like a free shot, and Astrom did this like banana pass to Stefansson, who was moving in like front of the net, and the pass went like perfectly to Stefansson, and Stefansson was able to score from there. It's really creative, and I think it's really impressive that they both found a way how to use their strengths, and they also executed it. So I think those kinds of things, like if you really look into it, then you have to just appreciate them, and it's just amazing, yeah. And those 2 guys have been kind of course it's a team sport, but at some point they were carrying the team a bit, and really, really great players.
reasons why Storvreta have been the best team in the league defensively. Also, their goalies have been great. You can see Lindblom. I think he's like the second goalie. He didn't have that many games, but Parsio is right there behind Johansson from Lazio. That having two great goalies is never a bad bad scenario in a team which have
Yeah.
already good defense.
Yeah, and you can point out that also the second kind of goalie, he's not playing that much, but when he gets the chance, then he has been able to perform, even though it's a one game. It's still something to take into consideration.
Yeah, I would compare maybe a little bit about in Finland. TPS have a similar situation where
Yeah,
they have maybe the best goalie in the world. That's a interesting topic to talk about, Oskari Falden, but then also the second goalie, Kuisma, is a super good goalie and backup, and they are, I think, both top 5 goalies in the league also. So
yeah,
Malte Lundmark takes the scoring title for the first time in his career, 71 point. I think last time 70-point mark was broken, it was 2 years ago when Sjogren and Galante did it. So it's not the easiest thing to do.
yeah. That's an understatement, but I think kind of like association that comes when you bring up Lundmark is when a couple of years ago, when I was also really young, but like I watched, this YouTube video where Lundmark scores like, I don't know, was it like four
The
goals?
penalty shots.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he was like 15 or
Holy
16
shit.
years old. And for the kind of at that point could be like the best team in the world, and then he just nobody can score from his team, and then he comes in and just basically clutches the penalty shootout. It's like crazy, crazy amount of pressure, and he was able to. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, yeah, that's so crazy. And when those things happen, I always think about like how those players, like he's so young and he's stepping up for like this huge team. It's like super big thing, and
mm,
how he's gonna, like. I'm thinking at the point like, okay, yeah, he can score some penalties. Is he really that great, or can he like become a great player, or is this like a one time thing? And
yeah,
then see him become like this. I think he's in Sweden like the best player right now, and
yeah. So,
that's really cool. Yeah, I remember that video, and that's so cool that you mentioned it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And yeah, Weisbach from Pixbo takes the assist scoring title, and yeah, he's also had many great highlights this season and winning the Champions Cup. Like his
Yeah.
performance in the final of Champions Cup is
Also in the
one.
semi-final. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, good point. And yeah, one of the best, would say, this season clutch players. Shame that we couldn't see him in World Championship final game because he was there, but he wasn't getting any playing time in the final. I believe so. And yeah, would be fun to see if that game would be replayed and if he would have more role in the team and how it would play out. Because after seeing what he has done in Pixbo, of course, in national team and club, there's different roles, and you are not always the same player as you are in national team. So that's, of course, another thing we can discuss about later. But yeah, really great season for Weisbach, and we're gonna talk about him a little bit later, also in some podcasts because he's also leaving Pixbo. How do you say his full name? Alexander Galante Karlström.
Carlson. Carlson. It sounds great already, to be honest.
Alexander Galante Karlström.
Carlson.
Yeah,
Yes,
one of
it's
the
a bit of
greatest players ever to play. 700 goals in his career in SSL. That is good, I guess.
So, can you put it into perspective? How much is that?
Yeah, but if we count my goals last 3 seasons, I have maybe 40 goals, and I'm not the worst player. But Galante scores 700 goals. I don't know how many games, but that's that's pretty insane.
Yes, that is insane. Exactly, and I love the background there. Can you figure out what that is behind him in the picture?
I think that's like seven miracles, or
Seven
how do you?
wonders. Yeah.
Is
So
Galante like the eighth one, or what do
yeah,
they mean by?
exactly. He's the first floorball, maybe floorball wonder. And
Yeah,
to mention, like with Galante, I think he kind of associates with the guy that I have watched 5 years ago, highlights, everything. Also the finals where Fallon played against Sorvet. I watched like the full games all the time. It was so interesting to see, especially when you're a kid, and that's like kind of your peak of floorball, you would say, like the like the fans going against each other and everything. But on the topic of Galante, he's like, I think he's like this as good as he was like basically 5 years ago. If you watch the highlights, then you know that hey, if Fallon is playing, then probably Galante will score, and he's that type of a guy. So even though like he's getting older now, he still finds ways to score, and that's so impressive. And if you look at his body measurements, right, like he's not the biggest guy. He's probably one of the shortest players on the field. It doesn't matter against which team he's playing, but still one of the top
Yeah,
scorers.
and in floorball, like you might say that you don't have to jump and dunk like basketball. Like the height difference is not that meaningful. It's not that meaningful, but still, like there are players like Kim Nilsson and Mikko Hautaniemi and players who can use your strength and length like really well, and it's a big advantage also can be used in floorball. But knowing, as you say, like Galante is not the biggest guy, and he's still scoring so consistently over when he was younger, when he's in prime, and also when he's like end of his career. So it's just
Still amazing. Yeah, and
one more
that's
thing to appreciate about the sport.
yeah, exactly. And just to add to that, like I think that's also one beauty about floorball is that it really, if you want to get to the NBA, then I think you have to be above 2 meters to have like a good chance, at least a better chance. If you're under that basically maybe 0.1%. But here in floorball, basically it doesn't that heavily depend on your genetics. It's kind of like how you can figure out how to use your like genetics to be like the best player you can be, and this is like a great example of how to use kind of his like body to have that quick release, and even like have his kind of, I think that's like kind of his signature sweeper is when he's like doing the side step and then like doing the quick release, like quickly turning and shooting. It's amazing to see. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember when I was younger, I was like trying to study his sweeper shot because I didn't have that great technique with the ball, like like Will Elastica when he came out like 2018 in World Championships. This long, like really controlled sweeping shot. Like, I mean, nowadays players do it really well. Like many players, not only Villa, but he's like the first one that I saw, and that I tried it and I never could do it. But what Galante was doing, like that was more like what my style, but I could like recreate kind of. Of course,
yeah,
not close to that level, but. It's interesting how we can use like different aspects of these great players in our own game and find ways how to use it, and especially him, like he's not the most, as we spoke, longest guy or most athletic guy. Like he's not this. His speed is also not like something insane,
yeah,
but how effective he is in his positions and how he finds the way to be in
yeah,
the right position and right timing,
exactly,
and like we're gonna I'm sure we're gonna discuss about these things like more in future podcasts, but
yeah,
yeah, it's really
for
cool to
sure.
see.
Something to appreciate. This.
Pixbo and Torrengruppen is still dominating the SSL in women's floorball, and have to mention Veera Kauppi. Her historical season is like yeah, something something maybe on the same level as Galante is doing in his career, and 92 points in 61 and 61 goals in 23 games or 24 games. I think this is statistic based from, and she's yeah, most point scorer in single season, and still going for 100 points I think this season. So yeah, really impressive, like to do that.
Yeah, imagine just going to the game, like every time you have a game day, and just knowing you're gonna score like 3.8 points in the game. Just
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, probably she's not like that, not thinking that, but yeah, the consistency of that to be hungry for the goals and points, and of course she's not doing it for herself; she's doing it for the team, and she has to be scoring points, otherwise they probably wouldn't be even fighting for the wins in against Pixbo. So that's super impressive what she's doing and her sister like together. It's an incredible story, and yeah, we had a discussion about this. I think you mentioned also a little comparison
yes,
before.
exactly. They're kind of like Venus and Serena Williams. So I think like I think it's impressive from the parents' side to be able to like like raise basically two twins. I mean, Serena and Venus weren't twins, but still like raising two twins to be like at the world class, at the top of a sport. I think it's very very impressive, and I think it would be interesting to see like their parents' perspective of how it was to like raise, because I'm sure there's a lot of competition involved and kind of one being in the other's shadow or so on. So it's interesting to like see how they kind of like coped with these. With these I wouldn't say problems, but challenges, yeah, going up. And I think if you're like really interested into this topic, then I suggest you watch a movie called I think it's called King Richard, and it's about basically the dad of Serena and Venus. And he was, to some at that point, he was like a crazy person, but he had a plan. Like since they both kind of even before they kind of were born, he already told, yeah, we need like two more daughters, and they're gonna be the world champions in tennis. And then when they like grew up a little bit, he already like knew that Venus was gonna be I think the youngest first rank ATP player for women's side, and Serena is going to be the greatest player of all time.
Really?
And he wrote that down. He was like
No
so
way.
confident, and it wasn't only him. He basically like speaks to both of them, and like he like told them all the time. And at some point when they like got a bit older, they had interviews, and they were like so confident about it. They also knew that it was going to happen. There was like no doubt about it. So if anybody's like interested in that kind of a thing,
That
then
is crazy.
yes, I suggest go watch that movie. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be fun to know how Kobe sisters grew up also, and maybe they have some similar stories or something like that. So yeah, that's insane. And have to mention also Emily Vibron. She's now the leading point scorer in SSL history. Incredible achievement, and congrats to her also. And still playing
Yes.
and fighting with Torengruppen for the championship.
Sure, and have to mention Peterboro's Champions Cup win this year, and it's actually like a historic win for Peterborough as a club, because they were able to achieve the so-called double of having like also the both men's and women's side winning the Champions Cup, and it's I don't think it has ever been done before, and it's an impressive feat. So congrats to uh, the organization of Peterborough for that. So really impressive.
Yeah. And let's get into the playoffs. Storvet, I think, beat Nokwans in the first game, 1-0.
Yes, it was kind of a special teams game. There was a lot of power plays, but and there was a really impressive goal from Gabriel Kohonen, this banana, and then finding space to like shoot past the defender. Very very interesting skill that we have also like talked about is this becoming a bit more kind of popular, and if you want to see that, you can watch the highlights, and I'm sure you will also find that on Instagram, like so social media. So yes, but what's maybe even more impressive is Ulriksson's 5 goals in the first playoff game they had. So basically, almost single-handedly won this game. So and to mention, they're both 20 years old, and they're kind of the leaders of the team, which is, I would say, it's insane. It's insane, like being able to play like on such a high level, making the national team, and being able to perform in such important matches.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
crazy. Kohonen even like in World Championships already clutched up for them in I think quarterfinals, or was it quarterfinals? I think so.
Against Germany, you think?
Again, Germany. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were struggling. Sweden was struggling
Yeah.
with Germany. Yeah. Welcome to
Yes.
the 2024, 25, 24. So sports is growing now, and interesting aspect also about Kohonen is this mentality. At least what we can see from outside. We don't know how it's in the locker room, but I don't know if you already mentioned, but he is like kind of the new face of the sport, or becoming it, because
Yeah.
he's like this demeanor and bravura on the field is like really big, and the aura, as these days
Yeah.
we can say, and
Yeah.
it's not always like this positive guy, but he demands a lot from himself, and he has a lot of passion for his team and for his teammates, and maybe it's not always like really friendly, but
Pleasant for everybody.
but I think most of us have seen Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and it's something to compare about this mentality. Like when you demand the most of everyone around you and yourself, like it helps you achieve sometimes big things, and maybe
Yeah,
Kohonen is on the same
yeah, and I
trajectory.
think what's interesting there, like the mentioned the mentality thing, like kind of what brings so much attention to his play style is when he like steps on the field. He firstly he wants to play with the ball and like he wants to like create something. So if you just observe him, like what he does, he's just like searching how to kind of create a dangerous scoring chance like every shift. Like if you yeah, if you just like observe like how he's playing, it's really interesting to see, and I think there's like a lot of things to already learn from him, and also to like go back in on this like parenting subject. I think this is another interesting case of his father being a Finnish floorball legend, and also kind of his story as he started in the under 16s of Finnish national team, and then kind of transitioning and deciding to play for the Swedish under 19 national team, and then going on now to play to the men's national team. It's really interesting, and it would be also like fun to see the kind of his dad's perspective of how it was like raising him, because I'm sure there's a lot of interesting aspects here also from the psychology side. So yeah, another interesting topic that we might get to in the
Yeah,
future.
that's definitely like thing to talk about because it's a little bit also controversial. Like Sweden, Finland, they are like competing teams
Yes,
for
exactly.
the for the main thing in the world, and having the father such a big figure and everything. Like I can't imagine like the pressure he might felt, or maybe he just that strong he doesn't think about it ever. But like for an average player, like the pressure it could be insane. So seeing him becoming better and better every day and every game, so it's super cool to see. And let's see how it goes on. And yeah, it's definitely a thing to talk about more. And I think as a sport, we need to like point out more these great players because that's where the discussion is most fun about, and that's where we can get more eyes on the sport when we show people like who are these great players and how they can play and how they can impact the game in different ways. So yeah,
Yeah,
but let's move
exactly.
on other playoff
So
matchups.
yes, so Fallon Musho, I think I don't know if it's correct again, but as of this point, as we're recording this on the 23rd of March, so to get the perspective, just today I watched the highlights of the second game for Fallon Musho, and Musho was able to clinch a pretty confident win of I think it was 7-3, and really like high emotions game, and you can see that there is a clear home advantage in this series. So whichever teams plays at home, like you can see how there's like more support coming. And when I saw these highlights, you can see that the kind of whole arena is like with the players, so you can like feel that they get like this extra energy of playing. And I think that's another interesting concept, especially in playoffs. Like I think the home advantage is like so huge, like and it like gives you so much like an energy boost if you have like this fan base who are like kind of with you for the whole game. So this is going to be like an interesting series as we've seen so far.
Yeah, touching on that, how important it is that you have this supportive like emotion on the
Yeah,
bench also, because if the team is not playing good, in many teams, I think most teams, like in floorball at least, they don't. We haven't like haven't been starting using that as much as I think top sports are using this aspect of mentality and emotional support, kind of to be like really positive or say the right things on the bench,
yeah,
because how much that can impact the game is like you can't measure it, but I think there is studies about this how the
yeah.
momentum shifts and
Yes,
all these
exactly.
things. So
Exactly, that's the topic of the momentum, I think, and you can kind of gain a lot just by having like this positive energy on the not only on the field but more importantly on the bench. So like even though when the like difficult moments come and the other team is kind of like wanting to switch the momentum, then you're like able to cheer each other up and like say, hey, let's go, and that's kind of how you attract also the goals or the like kind of yeah the like also the good luck, I would even say in some ways. I think the more positive you are, the more you're able to attract the good luck for your team. So yeah, I think it's another interesting subject, but it feels subjective. But if you're like really like on the field and you experience it, then you like really understand that it's not only subjective. It actually like works. I think we spelled this one totally wrong. Because I think when Pontus talks about when I'm not sure how was it. It was like totally different than it like sounds for us. Uh, or is it Vekho or Vekho or something like that? Yeah, like it was. Yeah, we cannot pronounce it for sure, but it's it. So you can comment on this. What was the correct way? But yeah, as you said, 2-0 for Vekho, or however it is pronounced. But also another interesting thing, they also have a Finnish coach, and I think they were also after Sorvet the second team with like the least amount of goals conceded in the regular season. So again, you can see this like what we talked about, this kind of Finnish mentality of like good defense first, and I think they have also been able to do that well enough. And yeah, I think they are having chances to also compete for the title this year for sure.
Yeah, and even without the lead player Sankel, they have been winning these games. Pixbo and Kalmarsund.
Interesting. I think Kalmarsund has won the first game, and
yes, and they are like fifth
sure.
seed, and Pixbo is fourth. Yeah.
Yes, and there was like a clear point difference also in the regular season, but that's what's interesting about the team sports, right? The playoffs. So when the playoffs start, it's 0-0, and it doesn't matter what happened in the regular season, basically. Yeah, so that's why it's so interesting to see. And now Kalmarsund is able to win the first game, and we'll see how it goes. But this series is for sure one of the ones that you cannot really predict, I would say.
What do you think? Who will win the whole thing? Who would you put your money on?
It's a tough question for sure, but
it's hard to like say against Torreta, for example, or Fallon, because historically they are just so dominant that you know that those teams have always like a little bit of advantage because they know how to find those ways and find in those hard moments how to find ways to win because they have these common experiences. Of course, now they are starting to lose the top players every year, and maybe the trust also in the team starts to get lost a little bit. So I would give more the kind of edge to Storvreta, especially because also they are defensively so well orientated and
I think here the question is who would be able to challenge Torreta for the title, because I think for me it's like the first kind of my bet would be on Torreta, and then it's about who is able to challenge them in this so there.
And if we judge after these first games in playoffs, you would say Maxio probably is the bigger favorite than maybe Fallon right now because
because of the consistency. But
you never can predict sports, and it's going to be exciting to see how it's going. And I think in next weeks we will try to make more podcasts and see, or even watch some highlights or games together and share those streams. So
who knows? Stay tuned.
Let's see. But I think that's it overall about Swedish floorball right now. Do you have anything to add still?
No, I think not for now. For sure, we already saw that we have a lot of topics to go into more detail like later, but we cannot have everything in one go. So I hope, I hope that some things of this were interesting, and then it's interesting to also see what we're talking about next.
Yeah, and of course you can comment whatever you want to listen more to, and we can try to also adjust to your preferences. And discuss those topics more.
Okay, so for me, maybe it is a bit biased, but I have to say that Heikkila is the original of the FSL blade, because I know since it came out, I saw him forechecking with it, and it's like if I see the FSL blade, then I associate Oscar Heikkila. So
okay, honorable mentions: Palmqvist and Ayala. That's not Emily Ayala. That's Niklas Ayala, his brother, also having great season in Yuma. Okay, next blade. Optilite. Couple great great combinations here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. But I think Emil Johansson plays without the carbon. So are we putting the carbon in, or is
Oh, it's just
it's
Optilite. It can be MBC, can be MB.
okay? Yeah, this one is a hard one. No, but again, I have to say the original is Emil Johansson. I think I've seen him playing with it for the, I don't know, maybe the not his whole career, but that's kind of like the most experienced guy with it. So I have to go to.
Okay, I'm taking Kauppi Twins. They both are beating Emil Johansson 2-1 all day. Next one, the block OG. Look at this picture. Oh my god.
Oh
Three
no!
fucking legends. I'm sorry for swearing, but this is insane.
Yeah, this is
By the
crazy.
way, those who don't know, that's Mika Kohonen and Sami Koski. And the third one, of course, you know everybody.
For how long did Mikko Kohonen play with?
Shout out to Klaus Janssons.
For how long did Kohonen play with this blockway? Because it might be the only playable blade from Oxdog at that point when he was like still playing. Because I know that before that he played with a blade that I don't think nobody ever played with.
No, he played with the Real Stick. Was it the brand or some other brands? Like,
Yeah,
I think
it might
when
be.
he came to Augsburg, I don't know when it was, 2015 or something, but
Yeah,
he played with I think block blade only.
yeah, but yeah, for me, I have to say Klaus Jansson's there because I've seen him play with it like for his whole career, I think, and that's just if it comes up, then that's the first association for me. And I think Sami Koski is now playing with Optilite as well, so
That's true. That's true. We
it,
had
it
our
wouldn't be
last
fair.
game against him, and he was playing with Offside. But I just had to put him there. Like, if I find
Yeah,
this
yeah,
kind of picture, he's just such a legend.
yeah. That's a legendary pictures also.
Okay, next one. The new Gate blade. Wow.
Okay.
We have Salakangas back in Pelicans days.
Yeah.
Young Lahti boy. Then we have Roland Kovaljevskis, my brother, and Emily Salin. The left wing ghost, maybe? No, Galante
I
has to
think
be. But yeah, who are you taking for your fantasy team?
has Salokangas played with it the whole season?
What?
Has Salokangas played with it the whole season?
Yes.
Okay, so then I have to take him there because I think if like the blade is so new that if he's the guy who's been able to perform at that level with the new blade, then yeah, it has to be him. Sorry, Kova and Salin. And I think Salin is actually a good candidate also for Optilite blade. I think he could,
Avox. He played with Avox before.
yeah, and also Optilite. So he has been changing the blades quite a
I
lot.
don't know
So
if Optilite, but
I think it's also Optilite. You can ask him in the practice, but I
yeah.
think he has
But
played also.
Salin won't be happy that you didn't pick him. I
Yeah,
know
that's
him
okay.
and he's super competitive guy, so
Okay, so maybe he
watch
now.
out next time you see him in national
So
team.
so let's see if Salarangas or Salin is the top scorer of Classic this playoffs. So that their competition starts.
Yeah. Okay. Avox. What do we have here? Emil Ruud from
Yeah,
Orebro, but
the
he's
king.
playing right now in Finland, playing and having highlights. Then we have Heikki Iiskola, the last World Championships golden goal assist man, and had a great final also. And then we have Gustavs Griezidis, the man
No,
himself, in the
nobody.
middle.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put myself there, but I think it's funny that you found a picture like this though. But Ruud definitely associates with the pink Avok blade, really hard material. So I couldn't play with such a hard blade, but still crazy magician with the ball. But if we look at the final of this year's World Championships, then we have to say that Iiskola was able to perform with white avoc. So I think for me, it's clearly him.
Okay. Razor. These guys play with NBC Razor, but I had to put this color in because it's Will's favorite color.
The Shrek Oxog Razor. No, for this one it has to be all of them. How can you like pick one?
Yeah. They all have like different styles, and they are so great at them. Like
exactly. So I think they are playing mainly with Razor because they have like the heavier versions of sticks. So if you have like a heavier stick, then it also makes sense for you to play with a heavier blade, I think. So if I can choose all of them, then I have to choose all of them. But I mean, if we look at the 2016 World Championships in Prague, last year, they also performed there. He was kind of from all of these, I think he's kind of the original of the razor blade. So if I have to pick one, then I would